All right. Okay, so uh seen a bunch of people talking about this joint. I just wanna watch it my damn self. See what happens. Let's go.
Don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever
barriers.
you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
If it gets too boring, I'm gonna stop watching this soon, but might just go straight to my goddamn video games. So dramatic.
Should we mark this bad boy at all?
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues
That
dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I
it's
just want to
weird.
say we know we can't.
Okay, hold up. First of all, why you got a biological male talking about women's issues? And I see a few biological men in here talking about women's issues. Okay.
Can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? You guys saw your
Do you
hand.
see that?
I think
You
that
see
depends on the definition of feminism.
It said,
I
it
strongly
said,
think that
I saw it. They ain't see it. They ain't see it. Watch when she say diverse group of women. Specifically said women.
In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized
Because
world, is
that's not
feminism
one.
dead? You guys saw your hand.
I think that depends
hilarious.
on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity.
is
I would say
also
it's
a male
uplifting all women, in which case it's
biological
very
male.
alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that
It's
you
so
can look at
stupid.
people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to
Destroy.
make sure that there's equality. So feminism
Make
is
sure we
not dead.
destroy feminism.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be
Yeah.
people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right?
New
Like that is
Jersey.
obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as
The fuck
someone
is a
who's really
womanist?
thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
Hold up. You know
I'd
what
say
a
it's alive and
womanist
well.
is? A womanist, because a feminist wants equality of the sexes. A womanist just wants women to be above men. They want more than just equality. They want power. They want all the power.
I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the
Sydney
earlier
is hot as fuck.
feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and
Saw
there
this
might be
on
a
her
lot of
freaking
terms
shirt,
that I
like she's a
don't know,
freaking
like political
military
jargon
general
and
or
stuff.
something.
But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it, and it's kind of offensive because...
But, I mean, white women did start it. So, it's kind of correct. But, okay. Go off, queen.
Because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl.
Wait, hold up. Don't it like what feminism is supposed to be between men and women. That's it. Not all this extra equality, equity bullshit that they want to push. It's just about making sure men and women are the same. And they are. Well, equal in America. The Western world, pretty much. So, you achieved it. Now die.
Actually,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted.
You
And
think?
so
Pearl's she ain't like tear or anything, but she up there. She cute. But she ain't like the baddest bitch. She's not the beauty standard. She is pretty, but not like that.
They call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there is a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
Well, she
I mean,
doesn't
let's
have the
also
right
dig
to say
into
that
why
'cause
these quotas exist and
look at
why
her.
these, what you're calling
because we
privileges
want special
exist.
treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women and because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can
Who
pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
As a woman.
See, that ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't.
Talking about men and women, so that doesn't matter.
About women.
You're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an
able-bodied white woman.
I
That is
understand.
white. Presents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay.
Why do you keep going to other things when she's just trying to talk about men and women? So fucking stupid. That's why people don't listen to these motherfuckers. Exactly why.
Pay gap, regulation over bodies.
The pay gap has been disproven
The
and
pay
debunked
gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
That's so funny.
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism,
Say
and
it
then
again.
also
Fucking Sydney. That's not Sydney. Don't mix me up. Sydney. It's pretty as shit.
actually, Department of
Goddamn
Labor, all statistics,
Australians.
at least speaking in the U.S., have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not asking?
What happens when women ask for raises?
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in,
But
go
it's
through the
just,
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents.
Listen.
My
hold
mother
up.
would
I'm
not.
called something. I guarantee you, at some point, she's gonna make her accent thicker, right? That's what's gonna happen. This is my cure for COVID, by the way. She's gonna make her accent thicker because she's on the Vice. She's being recorded. She's talking about her background. She's gonna make her accent thicker. It's gonna happen. They always do it.
Necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, having.
None of those are your fucking right. You don't have the right to a home. You don't have right to an education. You don't have the right to anything someone else would have to give to you. That is not your right.
Bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today.
All right, she ain't doing it in that little diatribe, but she'll do it. I guarantee you, it's gonna happen. And I guarantee you, that's making a prediction. They're never going to give Pearl a specific example.
As a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I just feel like your question is kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege.
She looks like she's trying to stand up for women right now. She should.
Where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing. And I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged.
I'm not ignoring that.
We're a basic level of what the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a
I don't think that handicapped woman is really grasping the concept.
woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against.
You can tell she likes firearms. Look at her ears, her earrings. She got fucking, what is that, 50 caliber rounds? No, that's not 50. 7.62?
Against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
Resolutions are out. Sure, lofty goals.
Skip.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%.
Yeah,
So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality. But what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being woman. This doesn't really do.
Biological Asian man. Looks Asian. Talking about fucking women's issues. It's so weird, bro. Like it's like when they always say, "Hey, men cannot speak on these issues. This is women issues." Ugh. Put on a dress, change your hair up a little bit, dress differently, lower your voice a little bit, talk like this. Now you can have a seat at the table. Now you're talking anything you want. You're a woman. Makes no sense.
Do anything for us. And so people have
Do
talked
anything
about
for
equity
us.
instead, which is instead of
You're wearing a
sameness, it's
costume, bro.
fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't
Name a
believe in.
barrier.
Like
Yeah,
which one?
I do. Go
For
on.
you to have a bunch of ramps in your life, it doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we
Okay,
stick to
some
male
men
versus
have
female? That's my
ramps too,
question.
like, what
So
you talking
I'm
about?
thinking male versus female.
But my
So
feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women.
can talk.
Women
You can talk.
versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like so.
Look at that. Dumbfounded. It's very silly. It's very silly.
So what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just want
silly?
to know.
It's
question
a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying,
not a fair question, it's
how is it not a fair
It's
question?
kind of proving the point of why what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label
Very
because it
silly.
means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal.
They might be 50s. Yeah. Yeah. 762 is
Based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right.
It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It's more times than not it's not. So and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting wherever you.
What? I don't care if I'm lying. I don't care if you're lying to me. I'll respect what you're saying. I don't care what you're saying is wrong. I respect it. No, fuck you. I'm gonna speak up. Piss off.
Starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's
But
never.
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept
Parallel is pretty.
of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life? Why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made the distinction. I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact that...
But you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access.
Well,
We're not
well,
celebrating
that's okay.
killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So, like, here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
A zygote.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear
Definitely not.
people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
right.
choice is
Right.
an equalizer.
Just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms of
the
birth
policies
control.
that are pushed
41.
to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you,
it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No,
So
because
therefore
I've been
I'm
brainwashed. I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Ma'am,
I have lived under Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living.
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed because, you know, it's very interesting.
It's still allowed if you need it. But if you actually need it, not if you just need it, want it out of convenience. No, that's even still allowed, but like, we usually don't know.
How like fundamental America is. Like,
If your life is on the line, no one's going to stop you and be like, hey, you can't get an abortion. It's fucking retarded.
This is nothing to do with
like
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die, right? We're also talking about women in the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh, no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education. It's the oppressive state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be forced to have these children who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions.
Not true.
And people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling is...
I think it's less frequent, but poor people still do it.
Marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Yeah. See. Commercial. Advertisement. Still want to hear them say what freaking things don't they have, like what rights or something they don't have. That Pearl asked them like 4 times. Still not answered.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Yeah, instead of, taking person.
You see how the biological man said that? Like, yeah, we do. That's a man's mindset.
No accountability and being on birth control, they just want to do whatever
No responsibility. That's what they want.
they want.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have
It's a
any
bad thing.
care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
it
saying
empowering?
is I feel like you do take the way
Why
you
is it
speak on
disempowering?
women is very sort of women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just want to this.
Maybe I should
And I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I should
you have
say-
so much hatred towards
I
women.
don't hate women.
Where does that root in? It
I
sounds
don't hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman. I
That doesn't mean you don't have
I could be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly. I'm saying
her.
specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to
Look at
work,
her.
women don't want to this.
Look at Sydney. Sydney's like, oh my God, these fucking people actually exist off the internet.
Women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for
so,
them.
So what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a
Good
form
for
of birth
them.
control. And they don't track the 60%.
What
to
kind
see-
of
Wait, Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's a very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary, but please let
It
me
is
finish my
binary.
point.
Oh God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating pregnancy is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
The idea, the sort of moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that.
Killing people should be rare. Legally, killing people should be rare. Shouldn't happen at all, but if you're gonna do it, it should be rare. It's stupid.
It's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like, you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I definitely agree in that, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is.
It is.
I don't glorify and glamorize abortion.
Phrasing. Comma needed. Having fun getting raped. Phrasing.
I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like, if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that like.
Wasn't it a journalist that was like, shout your abortion, you get abortion, you get abortion? The fuck?
Glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion access, reproductive health care?
It's anti-woman, right? It does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right? It is a barrier, right?
It's
if we
giving
wanna put it
more.
that
It's
way.
giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
But why would the state have
locally,
the ability
women
to tell me what to do?
You can see that woman on the right, the black woman, she's real soft-spoken. She's not trying to rub any feathers.
Locally,
It
the
does in
women
multitudes
have
of
that
different
power.
areas. If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates. So
At no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body.
That's
not about
me respecting a person here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking about.
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward, these extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going to have more of these.
Captain Torrance,
They didn't
how can I
catch
help
it.
you? Fugitive extra.
Oh, I didn't catch it.
Conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations?
No.
How about in women's spaces?
Yes,
Hell
they're
no. Hell no.
women.
They're not.
What's the
Woman, adult, human, female. Boom.
question?
Pearl, I see
Trans
your
women
hand.
or women?
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what
one
a
of them.
barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold
it's
on,
based
hold on,
it's
guys,
based-
let's-
Okay. So again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is like we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's going to body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli,
True.
hold on, Minnie.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand why
make
you
me
guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And I'd have to
misogyny.
go.
No, she's
yeah.
not. She's a woman who's had an
it's always-
experience.
it's always-
One at a time.
You guys
We
are
let
so
Pearl
obsessed with your
finish.
own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did did this, and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
bone
me.
density, wrist strength, muscle density, you can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here, too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better.
Everyone goes to Michael Phelps. Oh my God, he's still a man, bro. Like, he does, and it's not like he's crushing everyone by like a bunch of fucking time, like fucking of stretches of time. He's like getting like they're close. You got people that's close to him, so people can do it. It's just like some people are better than others. It's like fucking. That's what you're saying, Bolt. He fucking beats people. Shit, he gets beat. It just happens. Somebody trained hard enough, they'll beat fucking Michael Phelps.
Than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, I mean, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
personal. A lot of us live in this space where we're told that our...
All right, so I saw Sydney talk about this right here. She's like, there's like 3 hours of missing stuff. So when this person said it's getting personal, it was something in between there that they cut out.
Opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get...
Look at that. Perfect freeze frame. Evil, laugh, cackling, evil. Look, this nigga in the back look like an evil freaking person, and this chick looks like an evil fucking person.
Shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So
Okay,
there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from
then.
Australia. You live in a bubble, and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of, that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to...
How about this? Easy way to get all the people to compete in sports, regardless you're whatever. Just try out for male sports. Male sports, as long as you're good enough to play with the men, you can get it. Boom. Done.
Every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these...
Like women can even get into male sports if they were good enough right now. So there's nothing to change. Just go try to play with the men.
Instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional
doesn't really
governing
matter.
bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they started to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. It's Leah Thomas is the only one.
Too many.
If
One too many.
if women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation? International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
Damn it. Missed that one too. Keep on missing these damn ads. I don't care about them.
Rob these little.
No, still, I am not going to play for YouTube Premium.
Trans woman.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we've lived through, we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too.
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. So I was like, we're in post-Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting like sexually harassed anymore. Like,
We did it, guys. We solved the problem.
I want that world.
No one cares anymore. That's the thing. No one cares.
Feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too for
There's too many bitches lie.
context means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain. People do make things up. People do lie. But it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves.
Not true. People would just stop believing women because so many false accusations came out. So there will be a post-Me Too. Well, there is kind of right now. We don't believe all women, and we won't.
And speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be. And you need to hit all of those fronts, if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen.
Less men will like you. What the fuck? So, if you're ugly, men don't like you. There's no beauty standards. There's only what men like. Men don't like the way you look. Oh well. There's nothing there's nothing y'all can fix about that. Men like what they want. They don't want fat, ugly people. Want a beautiful, nice, slim chick. She ain't gotta be totally slim. She can be a little thick, you know what I mean? Not fat, but she gotta be, have some curves on her.
To me,
don't want to stick.
less value I will have for society. So, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my
And a
beauty.
woman
That's
with a
one of my
claw.
privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And
Work
I
out.
think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty
Okay,
privilege
that was
should be
not a joke.
discussed
That
because
was not a joke, okay? Working out. I've seen people with no legs working out, so she can work out, all right?
we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw a
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not.
Who cares?
Why am I going to cry about this?
Because you're on the left, that's why.
I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad to bring it up because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic because colorism is not just shades within being Black, it's shades because the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we'd have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about because it deals with being Black.
My process really.
Okay, I'm tired of people saying this, okay? Listen, if someone doesn't like you, you can't force people to like the way you look. If you're ugly, you're ugly. No, you can't force people to say you're not ugly. You're fucking ugly.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered.
I said it. A Black Latina woman, okay? I told you, she's going to make the accent a little thicker. At some point, she did it. Ha! I'm right. I thought it wasn't going to happen, but it happened.
I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm going to redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself, and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I want to wear and how I want to wear it. And I don't need to
you,
right?
Not to everybody else.
It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to feel myself, because if no one else is going to feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say, though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that, to me, always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality.
Like what? Like what? You did not try to go to the gym and didn't meet. You know what I did? Okay, this is what I did. This is what I did. Okay. It's hard as fuck to gain weight. Okay, it's hard as shit. Had to go to the gym like every day for 6 days. like every day for like a couple years to get to the physique I am. I was like 95 pounds when I was 21, bro. I just hit like 190 of like muscle. It's hard. It's a lot of work. Gotta put in a lot of work. These motherfuckers don't like to put in the work. That's the problem.
Typically trends, they're created to push things. They're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health. They don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body. And if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women and men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are.
No, you're not. Don't let these fucking idiots try to tell you that you're not perfect the way you are. Don't let them sell you that stupid fantasy. You can always improve. Okay? You think you're perfect the way you are. That means no one, you can't get told anything because you'll be like, oh, I'm just perfect. Fuck no. Improve. Get better.
And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they're not your friend or looking out for you.
Layla?
Especially that dude. Like, how you gonna be that big and say, oh, I'm perfect the way I am? No. No, you're not. You have problems. Fix your
Say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry, certain weights, things like.
I don't know why, but I like her. She seems a little soft-spoken. She's pretty, you know. Yeah, she's a nice-looking young lady.
That. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that, like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try and
you?
maintain the beauty standards. I mean, I just think, like, some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, you know, where would I rate myself 1 to 10? Like,
we're not rating. It's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think, like, some people are more attractive.
So if you are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards.
Well,
is that right?
like, the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your
Yeah,
standard?
but obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, and a lot of, you know.
Wait, what body type became popular? The body type was always popular. Kim Kardashian has how do fake wide hips, which is attractive to men. No, childbearing hips is biological, so childbearing hips. Nice supple ass, thin waist, and nice boobs. Body type that men always have liked. What are you talking about? You sound stupid. You sound dumb.
Black communities of the fact that when it was on black skin, it was an issue. But
And Kim, you don't even have Kim Kardashian's body type, so why are you saying it's acceptable? It's so stupid.
when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep. Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're going to try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive. And I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I
It's
think
alive,
that
but
feminism has been
dying.
cannibalized by
Dying.
other movements like leftism, like
Let it die.
transgenderism.
So
Just
I
let
think
it
feminism
die.
is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal,
It's the
if you
COVID.
will. It makes for a good
Just
vice
let
panel.
it die. Let it all die.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I stand up now? Oh my God. Are we actually really done?
I love
You see how
arguing.
that? You see how
I
that?
think I have.
The big one was. Look how tired he is in the back. He's just like all so tired.
Some of the people on the panel were entirely subsumed in misinformation.
I
Should've
think
said-
that we women need to stick together and figure out what a woman is.
We were all loud,
I
outspoken
like
women.
that.
Some people are soft.
I hate the idea that we're not supposed to be angry about it. It's okay to be angry about being oppressed.
All right, we don't need all that.